They're having a little bit of technical difficulty getting into the room, but hopefully they'll pop in later. So this is the MPA webinar. The MPA is one of the incredible master's programs that we have here at the School of Professional Advancement at Tulane. It's a relatively new master's, but it has been met with a lot of enthusiasm. Our classes fill up relatively quickly. As a matter of fact, our very first cohort about a year ago, we had to cap it and send some people to the next cohort because it's been so well received. So I'm excited to share some information with you about the program. Next slide, please. So Halima Leek Francis is the director of the program. And then Brian McNamara is one of the professors of practice. Both Halima and Brian have extensive experience working in the nonprofit and public sector. And so they bring a wealth of experience to the classroom, as well as the majority of the professors, actually all the professors who teach in this program. They're practitioners in the field. They're what are called professors of practice, which means that they work in the public administration field, and then they also teach part-time. So they are actually doing the work that they're teaching you about, which to me, actually means that you have a richer classroom experience. So they take the work that's on the page and they apply it to real life. And so you can ask those questions to your professors that when you're reading about something and you go, what does that look like? What is that actually going to look like when I do it in real life? They can tell you because they do. And then, of course, I'm Sheila Gold. I'm the Executive Director of Recruitment and Admissions. So any specific admissions questions that you have or questions about your application, please ask me those specifically. Next slide, please. All right, so just a little bit about the School of Professional Advancement. Tulane University itself was founded in 1834 as the Medical College of Louisiana. Ironically, it was founded as a response to the yellow fever epidemic, and here we are finding ourselves in another pandemic. So what goes around comes around, what's old is new again. But what's important from this slide is for you to know that about 50 years later, which is a relatively short time in the history of the school, the very first iteration of what we now call the School of Professional Advancement was created. So we have been around for a very long time. Tulane has had a commitment to adult learners for over 130 years. The School of Professional Advancement specifically works with and encourages everyone who attends our school to be working professionals. And we have flexible scheduling, and most of our programs are online specifically because we know that our students work, have family commitments, and also are committed to their education. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of what we're going to cover in this webinar are our history of online education and why it's a little bit different than what you might have thought of as online education, our specific MPA program and some of the faculty, student support, which I think is a differentiator for our program as opposed to other programs. We wrap students in a lot of support, meaning that we're not only committed to you getting into our program, we're committed to you graduating our program, and then also finding jobs after graduation. Some information about our affordability and our flexibility. And then, of course, we always wrap all of this in the fact that the strength of the Tulane name and the Tulane degree serves our students very well years after they get their degree. So when Tulane is on your resume, it tends to help open doors. Next slide. All right, so a little bit about online learning at SOPA. So as a result of the COVID epidemic, every single school had to go online. SOPA has actually been in that space for years. We have been doing online learning for about 4 years. So when the epidemic hit, we actually had very little to pivot over to the online space. And the few classes that we did have, we have a wealth of expertise. So what I really mean by that is that we have on staff what are called instructional designers. Instructional designers are master's level educators who have chosen, instead of being classroom instructors, they're instructional designers. So they went back and got their master's in education, specifically in instructional design, and their expertise is to take traditional curriculum and translate it to the online space. So when you all take classes from us that are online, it's not just flipping through PowerPoints. It's meant to be engaging. It's interactive. You actually have small group work. You have interactive projects that you will respond to. There's messaging boards, and there's also opportunities for you all to get to know your other classmates and your professors. There is online classes like we are doing right now once a month. So you do have the opportunity to come and to know your classmates and your professors. So any questions that you all have about that going forward, we're happy to answer in this webinar, but our students find that the experience online is much more engaging than maybe perhaps they've heard of or experienced in the past. I'm going to stop here. I think Halima and Brian were able to join us. Is that correct? I'd love for them to introduce themselves, and I will put myself on mute while they say hi.
All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Brian McNamara. I'm a professor of practice in public administration with Tulane, and I'd like to start by giving our program director, Dr. Halima Leek-Francis, an opportunity to introduce herself and share a welcome with you.
Thanks so much, Professor McNamara. I am thrilled to see you all here with us today. My name is Dr. Halima Leek-Francis. I'm the director of the Public Administration Program, and I came here to Tulane in 2019 to actually lead the development and the launch of this program. And I'm very excited about what we have grown. Just to give you some background on myself, I've worked in the nonprofit and philanthropic sector for close to 20 years, and my work focused on organizational capacity building, sustainability, equity and inclusion, and also being able to work across sectors with organizations that are censored in government, private sector, and so on and so forth. So in the time that I've been here at Tulane, I've had the great privilege of working with a host of subject matter experts and other faculty to build a curriculum and quite frankly, an educational experience that we believe will position you for leadership and to make a difference in the civic sector. So what we really focus on throughout the program is preparing you, whether you work in government, nonprofits, philanthropy, and all the other areas that have an impact in our communities and our society. And we want to make sure that you are well equipped to be successful with an eye towards the contemporary issues that you're going to face today in today's work. So as Brian, Professor McNamara shares with you information on our program, we hope that you will ask any questions and really reach out to us if there are any things that you would like to learn more about. And of course, we hope to see you apply to the program moving forward. So with that, I'll hand it off to Professor McNamara. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Leek-Francis. That's perfect. As we start looking at this faculty slide, I'll introduce myself. I've been with Tulane since May of 2021, and I'm so excited to be a part of this particular program. I come to Tulane after 21 years of active duty service in the United States Coast Guard as an officer and a judge advocate. And what I bring in terms of my background are expertise in the policy process with a focus on the maritime industry and maritime policy internationally, nationally, and locally, plus legal affairs. And so that's my particular background that I bring to Tulane. And I'm so excited to be a part of this program and to share this program with all of you. So Dr. Leek-Francis and I are the two full-time faculty members, but the true strength of our program is the fact that all of our faculty, from Dr. Leek-Francis all the way to our incredible cadre of part-time faculty, bring with them to this space tremendous practical experience. We truly focus on connecting theory to practice and improving your proficiency as a future practitioner with the Tulane MPA. And everyone who's with our program in a teaching capacity comes from a significant position of leadership or expertise within their particular space. Next slide, please. Another one of the strengths of our program is that we leverage partnerships for our students' benefit. And so we have a working partnership with the National League of Cities, with the Network of Schools of Public Affairs and Administration. And although it's not on this slide, we also have a student chapter that we are developing with the International City County Management Association. So even though our program is online, and even though nearly half of our student body comes from outside the New Orleans area, we work tirelessly to provide you with those types of activities and those types of partnerships that can help build a sense of community for you while you're with the program, and then give you opportunities to network for your professional opportunities after you complete the program. Next slide, please. So the mission of our Master of Public Administration program is to prepare forward-thinking and responsive and thoughtful leaders in the public administration space. And what our particular program brings is, because we are in our second full-time academic year of running our courses, along with the resources available of an internationally renowned private research university, we were able to jump right in and deliver a modern, progressive public administration program. And so what you'll find with our particular program and with our certificates that you won't necessarily find with other programs that have been around for quite some time is we have a tremendous focus on what does it mean? What does globalization mean? What does increased technology mean? What does social equity mean for modern public administration practice? And so through our program, you'll graduate from Tulane with a better understanding of how to answer those questions in your practice to a much greater degree than you would from other programs. Next slide, please. And Sheila mentioned this earlier, but flexibility and accessibility are extremely important to us. We work very hard with our instructional design team to make sure that these courses are accessible from anywhere, and that we work accessibility into the design of the individual courses. We also have flexibility, not just in terms of accessing the courses, but also for completing this particular program. And so you have the opportunity, if you do the MPA program, to complete it in 1 year full-time or 2 years part-time. The majority of our students are on pace to finish in about 2.5 years. That seems to be a good solid progression for most students, although Dr. Lee Francis and I certainly will work with any one of you to help you fit this program into your specific needs. We have students in our program who range from experienced professionals looking to lateral to a different career, to experienced professionals looking to build their proficiency within their existing field, all the way to relatively new undergraduates who rolled right into this program because they were attracted by the opportunity to launch their career right out of undergrad and their graduate program directly into the public administration field. Next slide, please. And so we truly do have the best of all worlds with our delivery and with our content for our particular program. In terms of the completion, it's a 36 credit program. We have 7 core courses, including a career-focused capstone in which you'd have the opportunity to work with an actual public administration, civic sector, public sector organization, and help to advance their mission through a research and applied project towards your capstone experience. We have many optional concentrations that you can take. Concentrations are not required. We do find that most of our students do enhance their experience with the MPA by enrolling in one of the concentration programs, although again, it's certainly not required. And we'll talk more about the concentrations in just a few moments. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, you have tremendous opportunity for practical experience with the capstone. We also have internship experiences for folks who come to our program without experience in the field. In addition, we do have a 3-day required residency for the MPA program that we will run each June here in New Orleans. And so that's an opportunity because this is an online program, to come and get direct face-to-face interaction with faculty and with your peers in New Orleans. Next slide, please. And so I will share my particular experience is that as a new junior officer with the United States Coast Guard, I was coming off of my first military tour of duty for a graduate program that could truly help to launch my career. And I found that for myself with my MPA program. And so I can attest that I think there's no better graduate degree to help you get a fresh perspective on your professional work than an MPA. And especially in today's environment for a variety of reasons, ranging from resource constraints in the public sector to increased understanding in the private sector of issues such as globalization and climate change. Today, more than ever, there is a sense of collective responsibility across sectors for defining and enhancing the public value and increasing the services that are available to enhance the public good. And so what you'll find is that an MPA is valued whether you are looking for a public sector career, whether you're looking for a civic sector career, or even if you're looking to have a career focusing on globalization and sustainability in the private sector, the MPA degree is extremely powerful and flexible. And again, Tulane's program, our program with our emphasis on globalization, technology, and social equity is really at the forefront of this type of value that you can get from a PA program. Next slide, please. We also have several stackable graduate certificates that align with our concentrations. And so what we mean by stackable is that if you're not ready to commit right now to the full MPA program, you can pursue a specialized graduate certificate in one of these areas. And on completion of that certificate, you can apply those credits to our MPA program if you'd like to join the program for the full MPA. And we've had many students who have done that. They joined just for the certificate and enjoyed the program so much that they ended up staying on for the full MPA and are now going through the full MPA program. And so for all of these particular certificates, they do work as concentrations within the MPA, and you can go from a certificate into the full program. Next slide, please. And so the first certificate is the certificate in nonprofit and strategic philanthropy management. And the purpose of this is to help you get a deeper and rich understanding of all aspects of nonprofit operations in order to be more successful when operating in that particular space. And you can see we have a variety of courses that are available to you for that. And what I'd like to do also is give Dr. Leek Francis, if she'd like to, an opportunity to speak to this particular certificate and concentration as this aligns with her professional background.
Sure, yes. So, and I can kind of speak to the certificate specifically, and then also some of our core courses as well. As I think about how we shaped these courses throughout the program, oftentimes our faculty and other professionals who've been in this space for decades said, these are classes I wish I had when I was going into my career. I wish I had had the opportunity to take cross-sector collaboration. I wish I had had the opportunity to take a course that focused on technology, budgeting, data, all of those different elements, equity and inclusion in the civic sector. And they really focused on what the needs are for contemporary practice. So as we look at the graduate certificate in nonprofit and strategic philanthropy management, that certainly is a theme that you will see in the courses that you'll experience. So not only did we focus on nonprofit leadership, but we also incorporated strategic philanthropy into this conversation because oftentimes they work interchangeably. And in order to understand one effectively, time has shown us that you need to understand the other. So it's very difficult to be an effective leader in a philanthropic organization for one of the large foundations, for instance, if you don't understand what is happening in the nonprofit sector, and vice versa. It is difficult to build relationships with funders and foundations if you don't understand how they work, how they operate, how the decisions are made. So within this concentration / certificate, we wanted to bring those conversations together so that you would be able to benefit from both sides of the coin, so to speak. So we have found that many of our students who take this as a certificate or even a concentration area, they've been able to immediately implement some of the work that they've done in their practice. So it is, again, immediately relevant, very practice-driven experience, and we really enjoy the coursework that is a part of this.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Lee Francis. Next slide, please. Okay, so we've got it. So one of the other concentration areas we have is for K through 12 educational leadership. And what you gain from this particular certificate and concentration would be an opportunity to really take a unique perspective at what is the role of K through 12 education in society, what are the values that it advances, and what are some of the ways that the system can be renewed and reviewed in order to better address what society needs from the K through 12 education program. And this is a good opportunity to say that in higher education, you really do look at different topics almost as though they're siloed, but in truth, especially within public administration, all of these concentrations and topics do have relationships to each other. And next slide, please. And so what you see, for example, with economic development is just the strong role that a K through 12 educational system can play for workforce development. And so with our economic development concentration that we launched this fall, you have an opportunity to review not just the leading theories about economic development, but to take courses from practitioners who have tremendous experience in that particular space, with a focus on social equity and the role that globalization and technology plays. And I teach the elements of economic development course. And what I always tell the students is that in many ways, economic development professionals are the quintessential public administrators, because in economic development, cross-sector collaboration it's almost an imperative. And so in economic development, you truly are working across sectors and putting into practice all the things that you would learn in the Tulane MPA program. Next slide, please. Environmental management and resilience is another tremendous area of strength for our particular program. And if you were to pursue this particular concentration and certificate, you have an opportunity not just to learn about environmental policy and the policy process at the federal level, but how environmental issues and how environmental challenges affect social equity and can affect people and citizens at the local level, especially following disasters. And so I think this is a particularly fascinating concentration myself. Next slide, please. And what I'll add before I turn it back over to Sheila for additional discussion about student support is that if you are considering, for those of you who are considering a Master of Public Administration program, what you're probably finding as you look at programs throughout the country is that public administration is a fascinating applied field that has many different homes depending on which university you happen to be looking at. So you can find MPA programs within political science departments. You can find MPA programs within business schools. Sometimes you find them in the College of Liberal Arts. And one particular strength that we have for Tulane is that by locating Tulane University's MPA program within the School of Professional Advancement, you have the full commitment from the full-time faculty and the full-time commitment all the way up to the dean of our school that your success is our primary focus. So those of us who are teaching in the program are not concerned about how we fit within our broader school. We also are not concerned with pressures that come with publishing research, peer-reviewed research for tenure. And so there's certainly a great value to that for the academic field. But the benefit to you in this particular program is that all of us, from Dean Deitch down to Dr. Leek Francis, down to myself and all of our faculty members, our primary focus and our discipline focus is setting you up as best as possible and giving you the proper environment so that you can achieve your best possible success within the program. And so you're always welcome to reach out to me at any point if you have any questions. And I will point out, although we do emphasize and help you to think about issues of how globalization impacts the practice of public administration, we do focus very much on civic impact in local, state, and federal government. And so this is not a globalization focused program, but rather this is a program that helps you to make the best possible impact that you can at the federal, state, or local level, taking into account the impact that globalization and technology have on professional practice today. And so with that, I'd like to give Sheila an opportunity. I know you started off our program by going through some of the slides. Are there any other issues that you would like to cover?
Thanks. Yes, so just a little bit more. I mean, I think you spoke beautifully, Professor McNamara, about the faculty and how they support students and how our faculty are really committed to teaching and to supporting our students. In addition to that, we have our own academic advisors at the School of Professional Advancement. We don't share those with other parts of the school. Many schools, you'll have academic advisors, but they're split across lots of different schools, and they have a student load that is larger than ours is. And so that means that our students can virtually get on an academic advisor's calendar for a meeting almost daily. So you have incredible access that I think is certainly a differentiator for our program. We also have our own dedicated career advisor who is incredibly knowledgeable and also very accessible to our students, who's there to help you not only find jobs, but also update your resume, update your LinkedIn, practice interview skills, as well as push out job openings that get sent to us. Tulane often gets job openings sent from employers directly to us because they seek out our graduates, and our advisor's job is to push those out to students. So oftentimes you'll hear about jobs before others do. And then of course there's our own network of alumni and peers from the program that are there for your network to help you make connections and also to help you launch to the next step of your career. Next slide, please. So a little bit of information about our credit for prior learning process. So this is something that we offer to our students. And essentially, for those of you who have some experience already working in this field, there might be a class or two within your master's program that you feel like you already have that knowledge because you have been doing that professionally. So we do offer the opportunity to our master's students to demonstrate that you already have the knowledge base of the learning objectives of up to 2 classes. And if you can show us and demonstrate that you have that knowledge, and there's a whole process that we have you go through, starting off with meeting with your advisors and Dr. Leek Francis, then you actually have the opportunity to get prior learning credits for up to 2 classes. And I like to share that information because that's also a way that you can move a little bit more quickly towards graduation, and it's also a savings of tuition. So Dr. McNamara or Professor McNamara put in the chat that the credit for prior learning process can apply in multiple ways. So that's something for you all to think about. So for instance, if you've been a grant writer for years and there's a grant writing course, you can demonstrate that you have that knowledge already and not necessarily have to take that course. So that's something to keep in mind as you're looking at our program. So the nuts and bolts of the application process, our application actually is online. It lives on our website, sopa.tulane.edu. If you go to our website, you'll see a big button at the top that says apply. You click on that and you need to register yourself in our application portal. We keep our application pretty straightforward, but there are questions that pop up along the way for applicants. Please do not hesitate to reach out. We like it when our students reach out during the application process. We feel like philosophically, the admissions process is part of when we start to build relationships with students and we get to know you. So we like hearing from you. With that said, there are several elements of our application. The first one is that we need a image of a current government ID, whether that's a driver's license or a passport. You can simply take a picture on your phone and upload it. We'll need transcripts from any undergraduate or graduate institutions that you've attended. There is a writing portion of the application that you will need to fill out. Many of our applicants are excited to hear that we do not require the GRE for admission to our school. And then we also have a $50 application fee, but we do waive that fee for those who have attended this webinar. So you should get your fee waived automatically. So once again, if you have questions about this process, please reach out. We'd be happy to answer any questions along the way.
And Sheila, if I can jump in really quickly.
Sure.
Something with the application. We do, our process does also, we also ask the students have a 3.0 GPA. If you've looked at the website at our admissions requirements. I will say that with the applications, we want students to really give good attention to their essays and statements that they submit. Writing is very important in this program, and we want to make sure that you are prepared to be successful in the program. So please give great care and attention to that element. Also, if you have questions about whether or not you meet the admissions threshold, we encourage you to go ahead and apply to the program, and we'll review your application closely. And you may be asked to do an interview with either myself or Professor McNamara so that we can talk to you about the program or clarify any questions that we might have. A third point that I'll raise is that we ask that you also submit your resume or your CV for this as well. And that is very helpful for us to determine your scope of experience so that we can be sure that the program and what you'll be getting out of it is in alignment with your professional background, whether you have a lot of experience or no experience at all. That is very helpful for us to really gain a better understanding and more insight on how we can work with you to get you to your goals. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to us. But we do encourage that you do apply and do so relatively soon, because our courses, our cohorts tend to fill up pretty quickly also. So thank you.
So to that point, our application deadlines are around the corner. So we have 3 starts each year, a spring, a summer, and a fall. We are currently accepting applications for our spring cohort, which starts mid-January. The application deadline is technically January 1st. However, we encourage our applicants to get their application in as early as possible. We do read applications on a rolling basis. So that means that when your application is complete with all of the materials, it will get reviewed, and we will get your admissions decision out to you as quickly as possible. We do have a early enrollment scholarship that we offer for students, and so I'll talk about that for the spring. If you are admitted and register for classes by December 1, which I know is right around the corner, you'll receive a $500 early enrollment scholarship. It's just applied to your first semester of tuition. And the same is for the other semesters. The summer application is also open. That application deadline is May 1, but I would encourage you to get that application in now. We can read it and give you an admissions decision And if you register for classes by April 25th, you will also receive the scholarship. And then for those of you who are on the ball for the fall cohort, we have our fall August 1st deadline. But if you get your application in now and register for classes by June 1, you'll also receive the $500 scholarship. So that's just a way to encourage you to register early, but also it gives you the opportunity to get your admissions decision in your hands, make your plans, and then also it'll help hopefully alleviate a little bit of the financial burden of your first semester of your master's program. So a little bit about our tuition. Tulane's tuition rate for their master's program and their graduate level courses is $1,119 per credit hour. Our classes are 3 credit hours per class. And most students take 1 to 2 classes per semester. We do offer several forms of financial aid that require that you fill out the FAFSA form, which is the federal form for financial aid. I tell all applicants that when you start filling out your application for admission, also start the FAFSA form. It is somewhat detailed and has multiple steps to it. And so it can take some time. So don't leave that necessarily to the last minute. We do offer as a university federal grants and loans. We are proudly a yellow ribbon school. We are veteran and active duty military friendly, and we are very proud of that. A way that we demonstrate that is that we offer several 20% tuition discounts, and those apply for active duty military or veterans or active or retired safety personnel. We also offer a 20% scholarship to, or 20% tuition discount rather, for students who have received a degree from a minority serving institution, like an HBCU or a Hispanic serving institution. And we also offer scholarships to our own Tulane undergraduates. So if you've received a Tulane degree, if you're an alum of the school, we also offer a scholarship, as well as keep in mind our credit for prior learning. That is a different way to save up to 6 credits of tuition. All right, so Dr. Leek Francis's information and Professor McNamara's information is on the screen if you want to reach out to them. And if anybody has any questions, we have a minute or two to take some of those.
Sheila, there was a question in the chat from, let's see, Zachary. Can the scholarship, and I'm assuming he means the $500 early enrollment scholarship, be applied to outside fees for applicants who are Tulane staff and who have tuition waivers?
Well, not really. Not really. It's applied only to tuition. And so for staff members, that is a little bit different. The only thing that a staff member has to pay, however, is the enrollment deposit. And after that, your waiver should cover pretty much the rest of your tuition. But the scholarship cannot be applied towards books. So it's strictly a tuition discount.
Can the scholarship be applied to the enrollment deposit?
It cannot. They're okay. Different. It is truly a tuition discount.
Okay.
And then Jamie's question in the chat, I think Ann answered it, but I'll just read it for everyone. Does the scholarship apply to those who are interested in graduate certificates? And the answer was yes, the early enrollment scholarship would apply to graduate certificates as well. And then I think Ashley followed up about what was the scholarship for HBCU graduates. That would be under our minority serving institution scholarship. So if you are a graduate of a minority serving institution, which includes HBCUs, you would receive a 20% tuition discount. With the scholarships and with the tuition discounts, there is a form that you complete and submit. So I encourage you to, I'll put the link to that in the chat, or if you can pull the link to that in the chat so that people can access that. Be aware that there are deadlines around those scholarships to make sure that you are able to, or the funding is able to be adequately applied to your tuition. So just be sure of that as well. For the June in-person visits, what time during the month does that usually happen? Are you referring to the residency, the June residency? I'm going to go on the assumption that you are. Yes, it's early June. So Brian, what are the dates for the residency?
So for example, we do go for early June. And for example, this upcoming year, our residency will be June 2nd to June 4th of 2022.
And the
I have a
waiver
question.
of the application fee. Yes, it is waived with your participation on this webinar.
It should get automatically waived when you submit your application. If it doesn't, for some reason, if you get a pop-up that says, please pay your application fee, once you submit your application, please reach out to me. I can waive it for you. And then for those of you who may have already applied and paid the fee, email me. I'm happy to refund it. It takes about 2 weeks to go through the process to get back to you, but you've attended the webinar, so we'd be happy to refund that. So just send me an email.
Hello, I have a question about, so I started the application and one of the questions asking about the greatest challenges or opportunities within your proposed area of study. So for that, should I focus more on like the challenges within public administration as a whole, or should I think more about like a social issue or challenge and sort of write about how I want to drive my career into that specific direction?
Yes, Justin, thanks for that question. I'll go ahead and take the first swing at this. And I think the answer is yes, any of the above. What's most important to us is that we see that you're being thoughtful about the area of study you're looking to, in which you'd like to engage. And it's also an opportunity for Dr. Lee Francis and I to see how your writing is as you put your thoughts together. And so for us, it's just as important and maybe even more important to see that you can stake a position and then defend it articulately than it is for us to pick, we're not going to be judging what it is you say is your particular challenge. Rather, we're interested in hearing what you think about it and how you defend that.
Okay.
These are all excellent questions. Any others? If there are no other questions, Brian, you can go ahead and close us out.
All right. Thanks so much, Dr. Lee Francis. So we greatly appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today. As I mentioned before, my MPA truly did launch my career. And although if you look at my biography, you see a lot about how I was an attorney, I was a judge advocate. None of that would have happened if I hadn't completed the MPA program, which gave me a great perspective on my professional practice within the public sector for my career. And so I'm a huge fan of the MPA degree in particular, and a huge fan of Tulane University and the program that we have. I don't think you'll find a better program in the country that focuses on social equity and globalization and technology and how those impact modern public administration practice. And so I encourage you to apply, and I'm available at any time at that email in the slides if you have any questions whatsoever over the next few weeks.
Same here. Thank you so much for joining, and we look forward to receiving your applications. Take care. Bye-bye.